Hi friends, and welcome back to Becca Does Stuff. You know, as someone who has a diploma in nutrition and is a self-proclaimed low waster, I hate to see food waste. So I thought that in today's video, we could talk about a few ways in which I reduce food waste in my home. Did you know that the world wastes about 1.4 billion tons of food per year? The leader in food waste, of course, is the US. We waste almost 80 billion pounds of food per year. That's estimated to be about 30 to 40% of the US food supply. The average American household wastes about $1,500 to $1,800 per year on food waste alone. And of course, I'm not perfect, but let's talk about a few ways in which I try to reduce my food waste. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about this one before, but I save my vegetable scraps and make vegetable broth out of them. And for those of you who are meat eaters, you can also save the bones from your animal products and just keep them in the freezer. When you are ready to make broth, dump all your contents in a crock pot of water or just a pot on the stove, add your favorite seasonings, cook on low for a few hours, and then strain out the contents to separate it from the broth, and you have your broth ready to go. You can also save your broth in a jar or other container and put it in the freezer. And when I'm done with those scraps, I dump them in the compost. I also try to get creative with food that I know is about to go off, like these beets that were going bad. I made into a yummy beet hummus, and a sweet potato that I had forgotten about, I mashed up and put in a quesadilla. Some food, like asparagus and fresh herbs, like to be kept in water in the fridge, kind of like a bouquet of flowers. It keeps them fresh a lot longer. Other food that does well in water is carrots and celery. If you chop them and put them completely submerged in water in your refrigerator, it will extend the life of them. I change the water in these containers about once a week if I haven't used up the vegetables by then. You know, they say you are what you eat, and I like to eat nuts, but I don't go through them quite fast enough. They can go rancid, nuts and seeds both, so I keep them in containers in my refrigerator. Spinach lasts a lot longer when I keep a dry towel or napkin in the container. I also use a swag bag to keep lettuce and zucchini in. You just simply dampen the outside of it and then put it in your fridge. But you don't have to go out and buy one of these. You can just use a slightly dampened hand towel and wrap your vegetables up in that, and it should help just the same. This may seem obvious, but I also freeze food that I know won't be eaten in time. So things like grapes, which my boyfriend loves his frozen grapes, and leftovers. My ginger goes in there. Ginger lasts a lot longer in the freezer. I also keep some of it shredded up, so I have some ready to go for recipes. I don't have to worry about shredding a frozen ginger root. Broccoli, cauliflower, herbs, leftover sauce that was not used out of the can, you name it, I freeze it all. I also save my old bananas in the freezer and use them for breads, cookies, and smoothies. I try to organize and label my food accordingly. I write the expiration dates where I can see them, and I organize it so that the newer items are in the back and the old stuff is up front and gets used faster. I also decant dry foods, and the reason why I do this is not just for aesthetics, but it is to keep the food fresher longer and to keep pests out of the food. I knew a woman that had hundreds of dollars worth of food that she had stockpiled from Costco or Sam's Club, one of those stores, and she had to throw all of it out because one of the food items that she had was infested with these bugs, and anything that was in her pantry that she did not have in a jar or a can was infested with these bugs. Now, if you get avocados that are too hard, don't throw them out. Put them in a paper bag and keep them on your counter for a few days. And if you notice they're a little too soft, stick them in the fridge to slow that process down. Questioning the expiration date on your eggs, fill up a bowl with cold water, place the egg in there. If it sinks to the bottom and lays on its side, it's perfect. If it sinks to the bottom and stands upright, you have to use it kind of soon, so you might want to boil them. And if it floats, throw it out. I didn't have just herb stems to use for this example, but I do use the herb leaves and the entire stem to make pesto, or sometimes I will make a pesto just out of stems alone, and it tastes really good. Just throw all the contents in your food processor, blend it up. You can portion it out into smaller containers. I like to do this because sometimes I don't have the time to make my meals from scratch, or sometimes I'm just like not feeling very creative and I don't know what to make. And then I remember, oh my goodness, I have some pesto in the freezer. So I just pop it in a pan with some pasta or zucchini noodles, and dinner is ready to go. I also sometimes use pesto on things like rice cakes because I'm weird like that. Don't hate. And I don't know if you would classify this as reducing food waste, but it is getting more life out of a food item that is about to be thrown away. That spent lemon peel from my pesto gets used on my wooden cutting boards. I squeeze out what little bit juice might be left in there, sprinkle on some salt, and I use the lemon, the inside of it, as a sponge. Just kind of scrub that salt around to pick up any stuck on food or odors like onion and garlic that can really just get stuck in your wooden cutting boards. Give it a nice rinse, wipe it down dry, and the cutting board's ready to be used again. And that is it for today's video. If you like this content and you would like to hear more ways in which I reduce food waste in my home, please let me know in the comments below because I've got plenty more to share. Until next time, you guys take really good care of yourselves. Thanks so much for stopping by.